So, how important is Twitter to comics? Does it matter? Is it a good marketing vehicle? Is it a place for blowing off steam? Mostly that last one. Hey there, this is Perch. It's weird that in 2020 we're still talking about social networks and how to harness and use them properly for good marketing and good, efficient promotion of products. For a while there, social media was doing a pretty good job of connecting with people and providing a kind of cheaper, more cost effective way of getting a message or immediate message out for products. But then it sort of backslid into kind of just a lot of almost narcissistic nonsense. And, you know, easy reason for that. Twitter's business model exists on getting usage, eyeballs, and people into its system. And marketing a product takes work, and providing actual meaningful content takes work. But what doesn't take work is hot takes on whatever you're outraged today about. So when Twitter created their search algorithms and their trending and everything else, and they gave the blue check mark of prestige, they did so mostly to people who were going to generate outrage. They didn't give the blue check mark or the trending topics or other things to actual meaningful stuff. They mostly did it for memes, nonsense, people getting pissed off because something was taken out of context. The internet is not having it. Whatever it happens to be, they prioritize that drama, and so people wanting to get popular, wanting to get successful, they create drama because the product tells you this is how you win at our system, and so people comply. It's not like Twitter has like a section devoted to, well thought out meaningful threads or, intelligent data or well researched topics. It's that section in the site mysteriously does not exist. So when it comes to comics, is Twitter important? Well, the short answer is yes, it is, but not in how it's being used today. By and large, most comic creators or publishers use Twitter in its most basic format when it comes to actually promoting its own work. DC Comics or Marvel Comics will put out little, hey, did you see this storyline? Hey, here's a link to a YouTube video that we created that kind of is a commercial. They don't do it to really bring fans into the company. And when I say bring fans into the company, I'm saying things like, hey, here's a sneak peek, here's a page from an upcoming comic. Here's a sketch from one of the artists that's going to be working on an event book, and here's their character designs for that book. You don't see that stuff because it's not what the company prioritizes out of their marketing. Any of these, DC, Marvel, any of them. Now, occasionally you'll see what I just talked about from an editor. Jordan White has done that in the past occasionally. Steve Orlando has done that for comics. Occasionally you'll see these kinds of teasers and early pages, but because there's so much confusion within the publishers themselves as to what can I show and when, am I allowed to do this? Most creators take to a it's already released approach. Like, hey, it's Tuesday, and tomorrow in your comic shop, get the new issue of Rogue and Gambit, says Kelly Thompson. That's cool. I mean, look, first of all, I'm not throwing shit out. That's better than nothing. And Matt Rosenberg and Kelly Thompson do an effective, strong job of promoting their books. Thank you to them. I'm glad they do it. However, at the same time, it's often coming. One, it's way too late for retailers to actually order those comics, so they're in the shops. And two, it doesn't really provide much beyond kind of the obvious. Here's a book that's out. Now, I'll say it a second time, so I want 100% clear. I am very complimentary and thankful to Matt Rosenberg in particular, who goes out of his way to promote his books. It's awesome. What's sad about it is that he's like one of the best examples of how to do it. And why that's sad is that, one, you can count the people who work. You can count the amount of people who promote their books like Matt Rosenberg does on one hand, not using like four of the fingers. He's a unicorn where this stuff's concerned. Other people do occasional attempts. And again, there's probably some, every week I come on. Okay, I apologize if I've offended anybody. The point stands that there's just not enough hype and promotion of the work. And part of it is that, one, the creators are often freelancers. It's in their best interest to promote the work, but, the company's not paying them to do marketing. The company's paying them to make the comic. The companies have marketing departments that don't do their job. And number two, again, as I mentioned, the publishers make it really difficult for the creators to know what in the hell they're supposed to do. They do not make it simple. They do not give clear guidelines, and a lot of creators live in terror of accidentally posting the wrong thing, and then an angry editor calls them up saying, "You got to take that down right away." And sometimes the you have to take that down is very subjective. It's based completely on if the editor is in a good mood, if the response to your tweet is strong, if you embarrassed somebody else on the team by getting more attention on your tweet than other tweets. I mean, there are stories coming out of DC and Marvel that creators that have a bigger following on Twitter than the company or senior, editor in chiefs. There's a rumor that there was a bitter kind of anger over kind of the senior editors at Marvel having fewer followers than some of the creators, and that they would come down on those creators and what they posted because of pettiness. I mean, that kind of stuff is nonsense. But Twitter as a vehicle for comics is really powerful. If you're making a comic, if you're doing crowdfunding or anything else, it's a very, very powerful way for you to give people behind the scenes looks at your book, bring them into the circle where they feel like they're part of the team and thus have loyalty and will buy every issue, or just fund the one book you're making, whatever it happens to be. But it is a double-edged sword because Twitter, by everything I mentioned at the beginning, runs a masterclass at pulling you into drama, even if you don't want to go there. They make it very, very easy for you to post even an offhanded comment. I mean, all it takes is one bad day, one irritable moment for you to post something like, screw this president. And then suddenly you are in the drama. You got people replying to that, retweeting it, forwarding it. You have other creators who are already sucked into the drama, like, hey, yeah, I agree. Let's talk more about that. And there's also this almost sycophantic push for creators to have to like and support each other's stuff. I watched a creator say, hey, who wants to see an advanced copy of my book? And they just post this out on Twitter. And a bunch of the creators reply to Donnie, and I try not to do it that way. But anyway, okay, fine. Donnie Cates posts this thing. A lot of other people come in saying, hey, I'd like to get it. I'd like to see it. Not realizing that Donnie was really just saying that to other creators in the world, not just the mass public, because he says, DM me for a look. So he's putting this out to his closed circle, which is fine. Again, that's his choice to do. But then there became a parade of, this is the best book I've ever written responses. And there's nothing wrong with that. I liked Thor #1. I thought it was good, and I think he's doing a good job with that book. But it sets the tone for Twitter to be very almost clapback in its nature, as opposed to actually promoting the book. And what I heard and what I saw is that the more people came in and said, this is one of the best books ever, Donnie's really nailed it, the more fans started to suspect it wasn't the best book ever. It was like that promotion was having a reverse effect on people who were actually getting excited about the book. It was weird. It was the psychology of what was happening was very, very strange. But in a nutshell, Twitter is a great vehicle. It's got to be used correctly. It's got to be used properly. And then I think you can do a lot of good things with it. But it's very hard to find that balance. If you're at the big two, it's incredibly difficult for the reasons I mentioned. And if you're a small indie person, it requires discipline to make your Twitter feed interesting, not have it be just procedural. I'm making a comic. Please support my comic. But also not get into the mess of drama and other goofiness. That's hard. Anyway, what do you think? Do you like Twitter as a vehicle for supporting comics? Are you on Twitter? Do you use Twitter? Do you think that's a dumpster fire of a site? Where do you think that social network can go? And what are some ideas you would pass to creators to help them get their message out and connect fans to their books? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.